Henry McClure Live. How are you today? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think the most important deal I could ever do in my life is helping the Orthodox Church. And it's kind of an interesting, uh, it's been kind of an interesting evolution as uh, I was introduced to Father Nikolai by a friend of mine named Cameron Taylor. And when I first started talking to Father Nikolai, I said, "Look, there's a couple of things I need to discuss. Number one, I get paid, and number two, I only want to deal with you." And I'm going to tell you, over the years of being in the mall business, getting calls from and just being in the real estate business for 45 years, the church deal is one of the hardest deals to ever make because usually it's an up and coming church, and the churches just can't offer a lot of rent. And in the mall business, starting in 1983, we used to get 5 and 6 proposals on spaces, and so I grew up in the mall business of a very prosperous time. Oh, wait a minute, Aaron, I forgot here. Hey, did you hear anything I said? I know my voice carries, but so here I'm. This is Henry McClure. I'm in the Glass Houses studio, having a little San Pellegrino. I need to. I'd really like to have them as a sponsor, but I want to talk to you about. I do want to talk to you about Father Nikolai because over time, uh, he's been really a fun person to get to know. We did a show the other day, and we're getting to the point. We're at a breaking point, and yes, the everybody has said to me that I've had the church on Huntoon and Medford priced too high, but also I'm in the fundraising business. I'm a fundraiser. So I'm trying to raise funds for the church so we can go build on Apostles Hill. And Apostles Hill is flanks Adams, and it goes west and Turnpike to the north. So we've got to build. We're going to build the fellowship hall first. We're going to build it in stages, and we're going to build uh, the chapel or the narthex or the main church after the fellowship hall. Hey, look, I'm human. I might not get the vernacular down, but I think you know exactly what I'm trying to say. So I go to, and I'm a cradle Episcopalian. Uh, in fact, I have my baptismal uh, signed by Henry Brule on November 29th, 1959 at St. David's. This is how cradle Episcopalian I am. My dad was the chancellor of the church. The bishop asked him to go to fill out the paperwork to create St. David's, and then asked us to be the first family to go join, with others. And think about that. In in 56, 55, Gage Boulevard was a dirt road and it was out in the boondocks. And if you look at the church, uh, the original church is still there and they've built around it. So I've got a special place. I was confirmed there. I went through the classes, and when I moved back to Topeka, I was a youth minister with Kathy Duncan. So long story short, Sunday was the annual meeting at Grace Cathedral. I go to Grace Cathedral today, and I go to the 8:30 in the morning, and after the 8:30 in the parish hall was the uh, the annual meeting, and it was interesting. It was interesting. And at first, I'm gonna regress a little bit. Imagine that. What I heard in the service on Sunday was Father Lightcap apologizing for the bishop's lecture to Donald J. Trump, but that's the way I heard it. I mean, he wanted to take kind of a tough subject and try to, I don't know if it was so much justify it, but what I found interesting that over the last 5 years we've lost um, we've lost a lot of parishioners, and what what we've lost them mainly to death. And the Episcopal Church, I mean, some guy was doing the math one day and said there's a date in the future that the Episcopal Church won't exist unless we start attracting more people to the Episcopal Church. Well, on the flip side of that, the Orthodox Church is growing, and we've outgrown our space on Huntoon and Medford. So here's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you if you go to St. David's, if you go to Grace Cathedral, if you're Episcopalian, if you know the bishop, if you know anybody, I need your help. Because what I'm going to ask is I think that Grace Cathedral and St. David's are so big that we could cohabitate for a small period of time with the Orthodox Church. But this sure isn't going to be my idea. It's got to be, it's got to be somebody else's idea. And so fortunately, Topeka is it's the seat for the Diocese of Kansas. So the bishop's here. The bishop's office is just behind Grace Cathedral. And if you've ever been by Grace Cathedral, it's huge. It's big. And this would take a meeting of the minds, but we acknowledge one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church right in the Episcopalian service. It's part of what we say we are. Well, let's help a growing church. Let's show some fellowship and change the way we do it. Think about what the temple did for us at when we had the fire at St. David's. I just happen to have something here. These are this is a hymnal that I picked up the day of the fire at St. David's. And I'll tell you a real quick story. I'm going to tell you a real quick story that is significant about that. At that time, and 6 months prior, I was having difficulty with my marriage. I didn't know what to do. I'd never been married before, and I'd never been in a failed marriage. And so I'm soul searching. I'm praying. I'm meditating. I'm doing, and what do we always do when we get in, when things are going bad? We ask for God's help. And one day I just didn't get up. I couldn't get out of bed. I just wasn't motivated. And sure enough, if I would have got up my regular time for, 6 months straight, every morning I'm walking and I'm going into the chapel and praying in the morning, meditating, becoming one with the universe, right? Asking for God's help. And the one day I don't, catches on fire. And if I'd have just stuck to my schedule, either he'd have walked on me or I'd have walked in on him, or we would have met each other at the front door. But that's been a signal to me to, don't quit. You got to keep always doing the right thing. And I make these videos to get them out, and maybe somebody will hear something and help me out. Maybe God will hear me and help me. It makes me feel better. But we have such a huge place at Grace Cathedral. And all we have to do is practice what we preach. The Orthodox Church really can't spend that much money on rent, but the rent we can pay will help the shortfall over at Grace Cathedral. So if you know somebody, well, just do this. Say a prayer for me. Say a prayer for the deal. So over the time, working with Father Nikolai, I'm willing to donate my commission to the deal. And also, I'm willing to meet with their parish council at any time. I asked Father Nikolai the other day, when was the first, service of the Orthodox Church? And he said, well, probably Pentecost. It's like 333 AD. And when I sit in the Orthodox Church, I see some similar things from my Episcopal service. I see some things that are similar. The big difference is communion. And we serve at the Episcopal Church, we serve anybody that goes up to the altar. The Orthodox and the Catholics say you have to be in communion with God, and there's certain rules, and I don't understand everything. But all I know is the Episcopalians feel you shouldn't, you should give spiritual food. You should never starve anybody from spiritual food. I'm only here for a miracle. You know that. Or you don't know that. But I got saved and healed from drug addiction and alcoholism. So I'm here but for a miracle. So if we can find, and I've got to find some temporary space so we can move our church into it, the Orthodox Church, so we can have some elbow room, so we can have a decent service. Nobody fits in coffee hour downstairs. And then I can sell the church. And so I got it $350,000 today, or best offer, OBO, baby. But I got to get out of my own way. So this is what it's going to take to get the Orthodox Church up to Apostles Hill. I got to find a temporary space. I got to sell the existing church, and then we've got fundraising to do. That's what we got to do. And you know something? It's all going to come together. I feel it. I know it's going to happen. And maybe one of you guys that are watching this show right now, we're live on X and we're live on Facebook. We will be live later, at least recorded, on YouTube, thanks to MD. But I need your help. Say a prayer for me. What time is it here? Say a prayer for the deal. Hey, give me a holler anytime. A lot going on. I lost a little time by running for political office. But that was the most valuable service I could do. I one of my friends thought I won the election because I I guess I'm always in a good mood. In some ways, I do feel like I won. But there's always been a calling for me to be in the real estate business. And there wouldn't be a more complicated deal I've ever done of putting the Orthodox Church and the Episcopalians together. So, again, I ask for divine intervention. I'll ask for those healing powers that saved my life on May 2nd, 2015 at 4:44 in the morning. Amen. If you want eternal life, you got to start living your life today like you're going to live forever. That includes your behavior and your diet, everything. I guess behavior is probably the most important, plus your faith. And I have faith deep down. I have endeavored to retain the spirit of youth over my life. You can tell that, but help me, help me, help me make this deal. God help me. Father Nikolai, Father Lightcap, we need to get you guys together. We need to practice what we preach. We say it right in our service. It's part of the Nicene Creed. We believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Pretty sure that's in the Nicene Creed. I should be able to say it. I enjoyed our service on Sunday. I enjoyed being part of the uh, annual meeting. I know that I'm going to ask for God's help to help make the deal for the Orthodox Church, and also that I might help the Episcopal Church stay relevant in its place in this on this earth. So hey, thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. I kind of like being serious every now and again. Deep down, I'm always serious about making a deal, and I need your help. So I love you guys. Y'all have a good night. Henry McClure Live coming to you from the Glass Houses studio, which is part of the Ryan Mowinkle empire of commercial real estate. And don't forget, I got an office for lease around the corner, 1,083 feet. Think about it. Think about that. You could be on the show whenever you want. I'll make sure of it. Thank you. I love you all.